So I'd become involved with the new music and interested in it, fascinated by it, and the people involved. Granada let me do 2 series of a thing called So It Goes, which put all the new bands on in 76, well, late 76 and 77. Then suddenly I had nothing to do in it. And a friend of mine was managing a band, so I went into managing the band with him. And then that band was making its first gig and didn't have a club we didn't want to play any of the old clubs, so we had to start a club, which was called the Factory. And then we wanted to put a record out in the autumn of 78. That was the spring of 78, in the autumn of 78. And there was no record company. So we thought we'd put a record out and call it Factory Records. And then Rob and Joy Division were going to go to Warner Brothers subsidiary, and they thought, well, the way that the first thing worked on Factory, maybe we could do more with it. That was Rob's idea. And it just all grew, it keeps on growing, and you keep doing new things because you want to do them. And then afterwards you think, well, that's really a good idea, that.
There are just more bands about than ever before. There is more variety. I just think that, you know, that people are going to continue to form bands, they're going to continue to form independent labels, they're going to continue to launch ventures like this film.
It often does base around a sense of place. And Manchester, for a variety of reasons, in the late 70s, was extremely vibrant, and that culture produced at least three bands which are, you know, of major importance, all of whom work with us, and we work with them. And in fact, Factory Records is a cooperative of the management of those 3 bands. It's not even a record company, really. So yes, it couldn't have happened without the spirit of place and without the creativity that came out of Manchester. Now I think, particularly if you take the historical perspective and look at it as this is the 3rd cycle of pop music, and the first was 56, second 63, third 76. But what happens now is not so much new styles come in, but that the musicians who have blossomed from the outsider music point of view and become major artists in their first couple of albums will now pursue another 3 albums in which they will develop and get better, and the music itself that is already around will get much better. And then it'll all go shit, and they'll all sell mega millions, and it'll all be crap, and then we wait for the next revival.
Was I saying that then?
You were saying that then.
Good God, I thought I developed that theory in the late 80s. Well, being very academic about this, I am the accidental entrepreneur without any doubt, and that's where we get the central concept of praxis, which is...
Tony, you went on about praxis.
I know.
In 1981,
I know I did.
Factory Records was the living embodiment of the Marxist principle of praxis. And
yes.
I cut it out.
Did you?
And I'm going to cut it out again.
Okay. But it is. It is. You do... I mean, I used to say the principle of Factory was anarchy, and I always quoted Sid Vicious extensively, and I still do when I give speeches about business practice. And Sid was asked, when you write your music, do you think about the man in the street? And Sid answered, no, I've met the man in the street, he's a cunt. And I always thought that was being very anarchistic, until 10 years later I read an interview with Bruckheimer and Simpson, the 2 great Hollywood film producers who did Karate Kid and Top Gun and all the rest of that bollocks. And their hero is Akio Morita, the head of Sony. Why? Because he was his own customer. And he invented the Walkman, not by having a bunch of marketing men and focus groups. He was walking off a tennis court in Tokyo one day and said, make something for me to listen to music to while I play tennis. Hence the Walkman. So being your own customer is one of the secrets. And I am an accidental, but I think that's an intelligent entrepreneur, but it does come about by accident.